going to talk a little bit, just to begin with, about why I've kind of chosen the topic of positive psychology and human flourishing. Actually, as a psychologist, for many, many years, I worked with people with trauma. I worked with people with varying levels of depression and anxiety and unhappiness. And I feel it was noble work, and I accompanied them on their journeys, and I've been privileged to be in people's dark places and help them transform and live with less pain in their life. What I feel after having worked for perhaps about 15 years of clinical practice is that, I don't want to just work on the alleviation of people's suffering. I want to be able to do something more for people, not just to think that the scope of helping people in their lives is to go from -50 to -30, just to rid themselves of suffering, because we're all going to suffer in micro ways and macro ways, but actually be able to do something to elevate the human state. Not for those people who are just clinically unwell, but actually for all of us, for the people who are just going through life events, for the people who are actually seemingly very well. I want to help people build what I call a raison d'etre, a reason for being, thinking about being our best self rather than just how we find ourselves. I'm a great believer in an examined life, living with intention, and hence I love positive psychology because it's about human flourishing, which is, the beautiful definition is to grow vigorously. And I think that amongst the other things we do in life, that should be something that we change our state while we're here, on this earth. Now, the people that I have encountered along my way, again, not just clinically, increasingly, generally, what do I find is that this might seem like a depressing story, but in truth, I think it's a reality that has to be said, that people find themselves increasingly hollow in life, a sense of emptiness, where people are engaged deeply, they're busy, they have no time, and they have many different areas of their lives well developed, but they don't feel. And they're repeatedly in crises. I see kids who are in crises now, teens, young people. I see people in their mid-20s coming with quarter-life crises, midlife crises, end-of-life crises. Why? Because they're asking, what have I done? Why am I here? Is this worthwhile? I'm doing so much, but I feel so little. And they have this conveyor belt approach to life. And especially sometimes as women, you'll grow, you'll educate yourself, you'll have a family, you'll get married. You're on a conveyor belt of experiences, and there's a somewhat of a hope that perhaps one of these things will give me happiness. But we're not actually often enough saying, who am I? What's my intrinsic toolkit inside of me, my character? There's a character vacuum. We're not looking inside to say, what did I come equipped with, and what was my full potential to be? Have I just happened upon this road? And that's what I feel part of my work with not simply my clients, but anybody who I meet in my life is going to be. It's going to be to help people ask questions, to educate ourselves on how to live a flourishing life based on our character strength. But we're not really doing that greatly, and what we are doing is typically, in order to feel happy or to feel well in ourselves, we're chasing prosperity. And now, again, I don't want to be political, but I want to be real. I do believe we do this tremendously. In fact, over the past, say, 50 or 100 years where we've recorded the development of nations, it's astounding, the affluence paradox, that actually, although most countries are wealthier, healthier, and they have more human rights, more civil liberties, despite that, we seemingly are unhappier. There isn't a concomitant or in-keeping upsurge in our well-being. America, the land of the American dream, where people are supposed to become whatever they can or whatever they want to be, they've recorded well-being and happiness over 50 years, and there is no comparison between the amount of advancement and the amount of happiness. There's no link. And we are now globally 10 times more depressed than we were 50 years ago, despite our material advancement. And yet most of us are still chasing money and things and acquiring things, but they don't equal happiness. Robert Brooks, who wrote Gross National Happiness, a book, he actually tells us that what really matters isn't money or just cheerful mood. What matters is your sense of earned success, that what I have in my life, however little or however much, I earned it, that the belief that I created value in my life or in someone else's life. And I think that essentially we have to kind of turn the page from simply what we do in the external part of our life and think about the compass being from within. So hence, I talk about one of the loves of my life, which is positive psychology. I feel I know Martin Seligman, yet he doesn't even know that I'm a speck on the planet. But, you know, I think about him often. He's a professor of psychology at Pennsylvania University, and he's really dedicated 50 years of his life to psychology. But he also, about 10 or 15 years ago, transformed from just being a psychotherapist, alleviating suffering and studying suffering, to thinking about the scientific study of what makes life most worth living, the study of our strengths and virtues and how they make individuals and communities thrive. What are the best things in life and how can we get them? And it advocates not just the quick hedonic thrill of spending money or having a massage or going shopping. It advocates the type of happiness where we're chasing something worthwhile, something which gives us purpose and drive. That's the way that we're going to grow vigorously. So positive psychology, they study positive human emotions, individual traits like resilience, optimism, grit, creativity, and they show us how to build these in our life and grow vigorously. So at the heart of positive psychology, at the heart of their theory of how all of us can have the best level of well-being is character. And they created a classification like a Bible, not of disorder, but of human strength and virtue. And I'm really indebted to them for doing that because it has inspired me deeply. I'll show you it. This is it. And they've found over much study that there are 6 core virtues that human beings have, and underneath those there are 24 human character strengths. And the 6 core virtues, which I have to read because I have a bad memory, are wisdom, humanity, justice, courage, temperance, and transcendence. And these core virtues are not, Western, North American psychologists sitting together. These transcend 4,000 years of tradition, culture, religion, are considered to be good for us if we practice them. But, why aren't we schooled in these things anymore? I don't think we are flourishing enough because we're not schooled in character anymore. Now, again, I feel like a soapbox has jumped under my feet, but, parents are busier, everybody's working, religion is on the wane. Where do we get our character training? All we have is a media bombarding us with messages of, you want to be famous, you want to have money, you want instant gratification, you have to have a sense of entitlement that everything's available to you and without not too much effort. So we are no longer emotionally, mentally, socially fit for life because we have the wrong expectations and we're not using our intrinsic toolkit, which is our character strength, to get there. So character strengths don't only make life better or more worth living. They also help to buffer against traumas. And I'm very briefly going to say that the character strengths that are indicated in the top there, if people have gone through any of the 15 worst traumas, which have already been alluded to by previous speakers: war, child death, spousal death, bereavement, rape. If you go through those things, but you have these character strengths, not only will you survive, but you will develop growth and well-being after. And even people with more traumas than less traumas, they have more growth dependent upon having these character strengths. So are we developing these character strengths within us to make us fit for life? That's my question. So I love this website also. I love many things, actually. I think I'm quite excited about lots of things. My husband finds this quite tedious because, he knows that if I've had too much coffee at the end of the night, I will suddenly spring up and want to talk about something that I'm rather excited about. So I'm not allowed caffeine, actually. But it's not in my house, and everybody knows this. It's rather embarrassing, but never mind. So this is a wonderful website, AuthenticHappiness.org. It's free because Martin Seligman and the co-founders of Positive Psychology believe make things free that make people happier. Go to this website. I implore and absolutely encourage each one of you to do the Values in Action Signature Strength Test. Now, it sounds very wordy, but it's great. It will give you this top 5 list of your character strengths, which will undoubtedly make your life better. And I'm saying that as a crystal clear guarantee. If you know what your strengths are, you use them. If you don't know, you're in the dark. I think that this, for me, is our road to flourishing starts with identification, with having knowledge. Now, I'm going to do a whistle-stop tour of what well-being theory, the theory of flourishing, tells us are the building blocks of feeling good in your life, of flourishing. Each one I will describe. In well-being theory, it says all free people who are not coerced will choose 5 elements very similarly in order to live their best life. These being positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning and accomplishment. And what I'll do is describe them and talk about how we can build them into our lives. Now, the traditional route to happiness or well-being is typically that people think, let's be more positive, let's feel better, let's have lots of positive emotions, and that's typically what we pursue. And it's called the pleasant life. However, actually there's a limitation to how much pleasantness we can feel. 50% of our ability is determined by genetics and personality. Only 40% is in our hands. That 40% is the part we can influence by activities and by relationships. 10% is derived from your income or your environment. So I would say that don't live at the bottom level of your ability to be positive. Live near the top. Do that by even just engaging in simple experiences, going for a walk, looking at colors, being excited about websites, whatever it may be. Savor it. Be mindful. Be present in whatever experiences you attempt to have positive emotion. Marvel, bask, luxuriate. Give thanksgiving for the good thing that is happening, and you will amplify even if you don't have access or money or whatever it is to have untold positive experiences. But there's a warning though with this part of being happy. Positive emotions is a hedonic treadmill, they call it. So if I won the lottery, the research tells us that for 3 months, I'd be giddy. I'd be delirious with happiness. I'd be, buying a F1 car and putting it in my living room and just looking at it, because I don't drive very well, and that would be a danger to the public. But, so I'd put it there and I'd look at it. But you know what? Within 3 months, even looking at that most beloved, thing, my positive emotion would fade back to the level before I won the lottery, because we habituate, and it's something that we've got to be careful of, not to put all the eggs in the basket of happiness on just having positive emotion in your life. Now, building positive emotion, according to the positive psychologists, they say that do things which are based in your character to derive positive emotion, and it will be much more long-lasting. The gratitude visit is a beautiful example. I'm going to describe ways in which positive psychology, they've researched them, and what they've come up with is that the gratitude visit, the 3 blessings exercise, the Losada ratio, if you observe it, you will have more well-being by 6 months, by 1 week in fact, by 1 month, by 6 months, and you'll be less depressed and anxious. Gratitude visit is whereby, we ask people to think about somebody who made a big difference in their life when they were younger, whom they didn't thank, and write a 300-word testimonial to them, saying to them what difference that made to you. Ring them up and say, I want to visit you. Go and visit them and read out that testimonial. It will change your life. It will change theirs, but the main thing is for you to have gratitude in your soul for something someone's done. Gratitude transforms us. The what went well, the 3 blessings, is simply about shifting us from our habitual place of always thinking about what goes wrong in life. How often do you think, how great was that custard tart I ate yesterday? How many times do you remember that? And how many times do you remember that you tripped over in the mall and you're mortified for days and you keep repeating it, or somebody cut you up in the traffic? We focus on what didn't go well. And the 3 blessings exercises every night, what one should do is 10 minutes before bedtime, write down what went well, 3 things. Doesn't matter their scale, and why they happened to you. And within 1 week, you will be less depressed. You'll have more well-being because you are thinking about what you're grateful about, what is good in life. You are feeling a lot more satisfied. The Losada ratio is fascinating. I love the Losada ratio. It is by Fredrickson and Losada, whereby they say that there's a correlation with the amount of positive things that you say or think and how well, say, your marriage will be, your corporation success will be, your relationship with your child will be. So if you and your partner exchange less than 5-to-1 good things to bad things, then unfortunately you guys are getting divorced. If you maintain the 5-to-1 ratio, we're good. And corporations who have a ratio of 3-to-1 good things said in their environment have predicted financial, economic success in a year. And it just is simply about mindfulness, about what it is that you are fostering in your environment. So I'm going to more quickly now speak about the other factors. Engagement. Engagement is a very important thing. As you see here, it talks about the good life. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, I practiced that a lot. So Mihaly, I will name him as though I know him. So Mihaly, he says that if you achieve flow, where you do something which is passionate and you're absorbed, anything in your work, in your relationships, any part of your life, and your highest strength is matched by the challenge, you will enter this place of flow where your unconscious time is passing and you don't know it. You're so engaged and lost. And they say that you don't even feel good or bad, you simply don't feel. They say that if you feel such a thing, you will have well-being in your life. And it's not just because it makes you feel positive, it's because as human beings, we need to activate our potential. And I think that if you do the signature strength test and you see your highest signature strength, what you can do is you can say, I'm going to find novel ways, I'm going to take a designated time every day, and I'm going to use my highest strength, something that I feel I have passion for, and I'm going to see it in my life. Or if you have something which is very difficult for you every day or every week, you redesign that in light of your highest strength, and you will have more well-being. Martin Seligman asked his students to do this, and one of them was a waitress. She hated waitressing. She found it demeaning and humiliating. And what happened is that she used social intelligence to redesign her experience of her work. And what she found was transformation, because she simply decided, I am going to be the best thing that happens to every customer. I'm going to be the best part of their day. And she became that, and they loved her, and she began to enjoy herself because she said the right things to the right people at the right time. She felt the light created in her and in others. And so if you use engagement, using your highest strength to meet your challenge, you can feel really wonderful. But it's about finding your calling or your passion in whichever area of your life you can. Relationships, this is so obvious, I believe, and it doesn't bear talking about for a very long time, because I think each of us knows that having relationships in your life improve well-being and will make you flourish. But I am going to say it, not just to be tedious, but I'm going to say it because this is a thing we neglect. We actually do neglect relationships. Do I have time? Am I too busy? Can I meet up with my friends? Shall I go and see my parents once a year, twice a year? Will I see my child before bedtime? We neglect these things because we don't realize that our positive states are mostly related to other human beings. Indeed anything we do to build relationships will make us happier. Georges Wyne says that if you have a confiding relationship, even one which is supportive in your life, you'll live longer. John Capiano says he thinks that loneliness is so disabling that people would prefer to develop a relationship over eat or sleep because it's a rock bottom need to be happier. And all we need for building relationship is small acts and consistent acts. And I think compassion, kindness, things which build connection and social capital. And these are the things that sometimes our time deprivation stops us from doing, because I think innately we are all capable of developing relationships because that's how we were designed. And they say that the best antidote to the down in your life is other people, and the most reliable high will be other people. So this is one of the fundamental building blocks to human flourishing. This is my second last building block that I'm going to talk about. This is meaning. Now, this has the risk of sounding preachy and a bit evangelical, but I want you to bear with me. This is about what the research on positive psychology tells us, that those people who have a meaningful life, who belong to and serve something higher than themselves, they have higher states of well-being, less anxiety and less depression. Because we are actually meaning-seeking beings, we aren't just pleasure-seeking no matter what media or the society tells us. We don't just want to be happy. We want to be happy because it means something and it feels worthwhile. We're attracted to virtue and serving people. We're actually hardwired for generosity. If I do a good act, I will get a neural kick from it. I will have oxytocin or dopamine released, which makes me happier. So actually you can't lose with doing something for others. But the key thing is that if you do happen to find yourself on a day feeling not your best, do this experiment. Go out and do something for somebody, unsolicited, not asked for. You will find you will take pleasure from it, but it will be the most reliable increase in your well-being you can ever find. You don't have to worry. You will feel more in that moment. And the way that Martin Seligman shows this is he asks his students, go out, do something fun, do something altruistic for others, come back, report back. When they do something fun, they say, yeah, it was great, I went to the cinema, I went shopping, it was wonderful. And when they do something altruistic, they say, okay, I went and I tutored somebody just for a couple of hours, and actually, I felt different the whole day. it stayed with me. I felt more present. I felt more listened to. I felt I was with people. I felt mellower, because actually people, and the research tells us this, we derive more happiness from doing things for others than doing things for ourselves. That's how we're wired. So ask yourself what matters, how you can serve it. FGM has been talked about, the infanticide of girls, poverty. There's so many causes. Volunteer, use your highest strengths. You don't have to invent time or invent skills, but it is one of the fundamental building blocks to flourishing. Last thing I'm going to say is about accomplishment. Now, this doesn't, accomplishment, it sounds strange to say, but this actually creates deep well-being in people, because people, I think, as a whole, want to actualize to the highest level of your capacity or potential. And it's a life dedicated to accomplishment for its own sake. We see this with people like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, John Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie. I'm sorry, I don't know any Arab equivalents, and I should, and that's really bad. But these people, simply they use their talent to keep performing, and not just, they don't do it to earn, because they give all their money away. They're not interested in the money. They're interested in them being at their highest state, because it gives them self-confidence, it gives them self-efficacy, a belief in themselves. What do we need for accomplishment? If we want to use this as one of our building blocks to flourishing, we need 3 things. And I'm going to forget one of the 3 because I'm rubbish at 3 things. I'm going to have to look up. I'm not one of those consultants that talks in 3 things. This is me. We need effort, we need self-discipline, we need grit. Effort is simply time spent on task. Self-discipline is keeping to that. Grit is high passion and high persistence. How do we get those things? Roy Baumeister says that self-discipline is the queen of all virtues, and you will get to achievement and to excellence, not because you've got great IQ or because you're fundamentally blessed. You know that Mozart didn't achieve what he did simply because he was a prodigy. He put in hundreds of hours every week, every month of his life in order to master what he did. It doesn't lie in being gifted. It lies in your application of yourself to something. They say that if you spend 60 hours a week on anything, devoting yourself, you could become world class in anything. World class, the best of your field, by dedicating 60 hours. So set big goals, small goals, family, individual, take the challenge, learn the language, do something, but not because it's good for your soul, but because it will be good for your well-being. So my take-home message is be memorable, live memorably, but do that by examining how happy you are, by reflecting on it, being accountable to the toolkit you came with, your character, developing a raison d'etre, a reason for being, identifying the strengths you have and just building on them, doing that survey, the one I asked you to do. Basically learn how to flourish and teach others around you, because this was not rocket science, but how many of us are actually applying these messages in our life and transforming our lives. So thank you very much for your attention.